thoughts.
Hi, welcome back.
Hi, welcome back. As a reminder, I am Naomi.
And I'm Matthew. And we are building a platform. The term platform is kind of silly.
It is. I mean,
Building
if we
a platform.
No, so like we're going to the town square.
Right.
And how are we going to get people's attention? Let's stand up high. I mean, I'm 5'1", so really a platform won't do much for me in the crowd. But
I like that we're sitting in ways that make it seem like I'm a foot taller than you.
Yeah.
But sitting here, we seem like we're the same height. So welcome back to our living room, which is where we are filming these currently. And yes, we are building a platform called The Experience of We. And it is for a relational system that we created. And as a part of that system, we're making these videos in which we are creating a relationship with you. Our I don't like viewers.
No.
We're gonna go with companions.
Companions.
Yeah.
Companions. How do you feel about being our companions? How do you feel about that word to describe our relationship?
Yeah. Do you prefer companion to viewer?
Or is there something else you'd prefer?
Or do you like viewer? I don't know. I always wanted to be a viewer. So when I was a kid growing up, I wanted to be a viewer. Unfortunately, I am on the other side of the camera, so I'm not getting to live my dream, but I also am, which is that we are creating a relational system. We're building a relationship with you, our companions. And one of the things that we wanted to bring you in this video is that whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you do in your life, we have something in common. And what is that, Naomi?
The thing we have in common is that we all came into this world already embedded in systems that we didn't create or choose or have the ability to consent to. And
can you imagine coming out of the womb and the first thing they ask you is, do you consent to capitalism? Do you consent to citizenship? Do you consent to...
Man, I'd be like, wow, this is bright lights and you're strange. I don't know you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, we didn't get the chance to consent.
Yeah, no, we didn't. And so the systems like capitalism, like our educational systems, like our war systems, these systems will, participation in these systems is obligatory. They will drop us if we do not participate in them. So our relationship with these systems is existential and dependent and non-consensual. Like for a lot of us, they're systems that we wouldn't have chosen to build. Like if we were going to build systems, they wouldn't look like this.
Yeah, I mean, most of us, I don't want to take for granted. So one of the systems that I think like the least is the war system. Not that we don't want to be safe. We do appreciate being defended from threat.
Very much.
Very much. And also, the war system isn't just on one side. There are war systems playing out. And so there are multiple sides of people who participate in warfare. And then that system holds itself together. And if I was designing a system, I would probably try to design one that didn't need war, if I could. But we all were born into systems like these that essentially enforce our compliance with the systems, and the threat is existential. If we don't participate in them, we can't eat, drink, shelter.
And in addition to those very existential matters, there's also just the matters of how we live our day-to-day life. So we live in a place, Chicago, that has things like pavement and cars and a water supply. And that infrastructure is created by people that the systems coordinate. These systems are how we coordinate to do things. And there are a lot of things that we need that, or things that are just really incorporated into our lives, that these systems coordinate to make. And so it's both the system will drop us if we don't participate in it, but also like we live lives that are, incorporate, that take for granted a lot of the coordination that these systems make possible between humans to do the important work, like creating roads and buildings and taking away our trash and
feeding us.
Yeah.
The grocery system. If we don't participate in the broader system, we don't eat. But if we don't have the broader system, we don't eat. No one supplies the grocery stores, and so we are all bound together in these systems of coordination, and without which none of us can survive. We wouldn't have the technology to speak to you via YouTube from wherever you are in the world. And so these systems support our lives while also presuming our consent to be in the system, to be used by the system to perpetuate the system.
Yeah, and if we can maybe design our life around pulling out of one aspect of the system, like maybe being a part of a collective farm, for instance. But we're all experiencing the impact of all of the world systems together. And so it's all well and good to have a communal farm, but if topsoil erosion keeps being propagated by the system, among other examples, we feel the impacts of that. And so we're very much sharing the experience of it and the fate of the direction of the inertia of these systems that we didn't consent to.
Right. And so it's not a secret. It's public knowledge that the systems that we participate in that keep basically life support systems, like our apartment that we're living in, the grocery system, the roads, are life support systems, without which living would be really, really difficult to impossible. And also, these systems seem to be interacting poorly with the larger system that they are a part of, which is called the Earth system. The Earth is a system that operates based on laws of physics and other kinds of things.
That operates in her own rhythms. I'm sort of using Mother Earth here as a way of thinking of her. Like the Earth operates in her own rhythms, replenishes energy and materials in her own cycles.
Yeah, I totally resonate with calling it Mother Earth, because we were all born of Earth. Like, I was born of a biological woman. Like, that would be considered, I guess, my mother. And so there is another giant systemic organism called the Earth that birthed me through my mother. And so the systems, our life support systems, if you will, human life support systems, themselves draw on the Earth to operate. And without the Earth being healthy and functional, our life support systems don't operate. And it turns out that our life support systems are draining the Earth of her vitality. A lot of people know about climate change. Like, I feel like climate change is in the public consciousness, but is topsoil erosion, is the 6th mass extinction in the public consciousness, is our planetary boundaries. There are 9 planetary boundaries. Do you know what they are? We're not going to read them to you now. We could, but there are a variety of systems and mechanisms that keep the Earth habitable. And our life support systems, which are built on those systems, are degrading those systems. And that is a phenomenon that is called the Polycrisis.
Yeah. Yeah, that we're dependent on systems that degrade the biosphere, the Earth's regenerative capacities. On the one hand, that might look like a human problem, like food shortage. On the other hand, that might look like an ecological problem, like species extinction. But they're reinforcing. They are not just problems, but predicaments. Problems have a solution. Predicaments have a bunch of incremental responses that we need to have together over time. And so, yeah, that is called the polycrisis. Many crises.
Yes, all converging on each other. And that's the sort of, I guess, the layer of symptoms,
Yeah.
maybe like the physical layer. And then on top of that, there's this phenomenon called the Metacrisis. Now, the Metacrisis is a fascinating phenomenon, and there are people who can talk about it for hours. We're not going to do that here. In the show description, we'll put links to some other videos where people talk about Metacrisis literally for hours. Daniel Schmachtenberger is one of those people, and listening to him talk about it for hours is like going on a wild roller coaster ride. We highly recommend. But for now, what we would say is that the metacrisis is the sort of crisis of shared reality, by which I mean fragmented shared reality. Not everybody knows about climate change or has the same opinions about climate change or how we can possibly resolve it. And that's just one of many things that humanity as a whole, as a species, needs to make some serious decisions about fairly quickly, maybe not tomorrow, but in the coming decades, humanity is going to have to make some very, very challenging decisions. And a lot of those decisions would be best suited to happen now, but they're not happening now because it is very hard to maintain a shared reality, even between two people, let alone 8 billion people. Especially when a lot of the people who are in positions of authority and power have a very different perception of what's happening than the sort of common everyday citizen.
Right, because they're removed from the impacts of what they're doing. The impacts of big systemic movements from leverage points are multitudinous and nonlinear. They spread out and branch over time. And so the people who are making the decisions a lot of times aren't in contact with the impacts of those decisions. Mm-hmm. And that is one example of why our sense of reality is so fractured. And then, yeah, on the more like personal example, in order to have a shared reality needs to incorporate both, like, just between two people, needs to incorporate both of our embodied experiences, both of our physical felt truths, mm-hmm. and orient around meaning to our shared values. That's how we create a shared perspective, by taking into account both of our subjective experiences and then creating a blended perspective out of those, interpreted through the lens of our values. And in order to do that, we have to have shared values. And humanity, as Matthew was saying, we need to now, and we need to, with increasing importance, make some conscious decisions about what our values are, and then live according to them together, taking all of the, learning curves along the way, which there are many.
Yes, there are many. And so we have a sense that in the coming years, in the coming decades, that humanity is going to have to start moving together as one body. Right now, humanity moves like a series of organs that are not part of the same body. Every nation state, every country operates sort of as a competitor against all the other countries in a sort of chess match for resources. And that like, imagine if my heart was competing with my lungs, which was competing with my liver, which was competing with my left toe as a distant competitor in the organ race. My body wouldn't work very well. Eventually, it would it might collapse in on itself. And so our sense is that to face the challenges of the Polycrisis, we're going to have to address the Metacrisis first, which is that how do we, the challenges we see is, how do we inhabit a shared reality? How do we do that now? Shared reality has been fragmented by the very systems we're talking about.
Yeah, like everything from like in its most basic form, competition and war, to the kind of leaves on those branches, like social media and perspective vacuums, echo chambers, that's what they're called.
Perspective vacuums. Sometimes my perspective is a little dusty, and I like to pull out the perspective vacuum and kind of give it a cleaning. But yes, echo chambers that are created by algorithms smarter than the people that they are capturing, right? The algorithm oftentimes knows us better than we know ourselves.
Yes.
Because it knows our unconscious patterns. It is able to track our unconscious patterns, which we can't see happening. And then they direct us somewhere where our attention is monetized. And so as things capture our attention, they direct the flow of money.
Yes.
And so the algorithms start grouping people in particular ways. There's a chance, if you're watching this video, that the algorithm said you should watch our video.
Yeah, if you don't already know us and you found us, the algorithm decided that we should be sent your way, or you should be sent our way. And there is a silver lining, or a salvation in this, which is that if we all are intentional about what we pay attention to, our attention is directed at the things that we care most about, and directed together at them. Because what are influencers and videos that do go viral, if not things that capture a large portion of collective attention?
Yeah, I would say that so most of us do not have our hands on the levers of power. Naomi and I, in creating the experience of we thought a lot about what it would be like to sort of get our hands on the levers of power. But one, that wasn't really feasible. And two, we met people. Naomi dated people who had their hands on the levers of power. And I worked in the financial industry. And so I was also surrounded by people who had their hands on the levers of power. And one, they are actually constrained by their power. I think that was one of the things that we were most surprised about.
Yeah, their power, like people who inhabit a lot of power, by which we mean a high degree of influence over not just their local environment, but over the suburbs to their local environment and so on. Their lives are largely based on a homeostasis of using that power and influence in specific ways, such that if they choose to shift how they use their power and influence, maybe giving up a portion of it, maybe making a portion of it more in service of life or collaboration, their homeostasis has a shudder. Maybe their relationships are dependent upon them being in these positions of influence and using them in the ways that they do. That is, in fact, what I discovered with a number of people that I knew.
Yeah. People in power seem to become subject to their own power. And their power is reliant on the systems remaining largely unchanged. And so they also become constrained participants in these systems because they are just as reliant on these life support systems as the rest of us. They're just as mortal as the rest of us. And so if they choose to stop using their power in service of the systems, they'll lose their power. They'll lose their wealth. And their lives will become more challenging. And so most of us don't have hands on the levers of power, and even those who do are constrained by that power. And so as we see it, the place where everyone's power rests right now is where we put our attention. That our greatest power is our attention. But individual amounts of our attention don't do a lot. And so it seems as if the greatest power lies in the collective attention. But the collective attention is currently fragmented. It's going every which way. There are so many distractions.
So many distractions, so many different versions of realities, so many stimuli that are so powerful that they blow out our ancient hunter-gatherer reward systems.
Yeah, so it turns out these bodies have been around for a while. I want to, all due respect to people, creationists. I don't think we're necessarily in dispute that there is a higher power that created us, whether you want to call that the Earth or the solar system or the universe. There seems to be something beyond humanity that created humanity. Okay. And also it seems like it created humanity in a particular way that is often called evolution. And evolution made our bodies and they stabilized in the form that they're currently in a long time ago, well before what we consider recorded history. And so our bodies are ancient vessels honed by evolution to work in very particular ways. And it turns out our attention can be captured by specific things that our evolutionary environment required our attention to be directed in certain ways. And a lot of the systems that we inhabit have learned how to basically hack into our ancient attentional systems and direct us around with colors and sounds and lights and interesting stories and delicious foods and expensive cars and
places to travel, and handbags, and
basketball shoes, basketball games. And so right now, as a collective body, everyone's attention is going everywhere. And the thing that may be necessary to face the challenges that we're talking about, which is the polycrisis, the sort of degradation of the Earth's ability to sustain us. Polycrisis, we could call it that. The metacrisis, which is that our current civilizational systems and the mindsets, the psychology underlying those systems, seem to have us trapped in a loop within the system.
Yeah.
Because we can't seem to maintain a collective focus on what's happening. And we can't seem to create a shared reality that everyone can participate in equally. I'm thirsty. Gonna take a drink.
Yeah, self-care. That's one of our values because we have created a shared reality between the two of us.
Yes. Naomi and I inhabit a shared reality.
Yeah, it's something that like it might be worth doing its own video about because it's a big part of what our relational system is for. We have worked for our whole relationship on inhabiting a shared reality, not deleting either of our perspectives, not overriding each other, but both of us bringing the fullness of our perspectives and then integrating that into a shared understanding.
Yeah, and that was absolutely one of the great inspirations for the experience of we, the system we're talking about, because we each had the experience or multiple experiences of not inhabiting shared realities with the people that we love most, our families. I was married to someone previously, and we still deeply love each other, but we weren't able to inhabit a shared reality, and our marriage eventually ended because of it. Naomi was, and still is in many ways, estranged from her parents.
Yeah. There is real love there. There is. And also, our sense of reality is very far apart, and bringing it back together is a painful and challenging process. Because sometimes coming into shared realities with others means growing to know ourselves in ways that are dangerous, or ways that are challenging, ways that are dysregulating, ways that that can feel like danger to our bodies.
Yeah.
That can feel like we're going to be hit by a bus or abandoned by the tribe, which would have meant death in our ancestral environment. And so, yeah, we've mentioned this, I think, in a previous video. We've been on this very long arc with my parents, trying to inhabit a shared reality. And
It's been grueling.
it's been so hard.
The stepping in front of a bus comment that Naomi just made was actually made by her biological mother, who at one point described the process of trying to come into a shared reality as feeling like she was going to step in front of a bus.
Yeah, and the thing is, it feels that way to all of us.
Yeah.
Even Matthew.
Yeah. It like, so I don't know what your experience is with your family, or what your experience is of watching other people with their family. But I would say there isn't anyone that I personally have ever known, and I've known a lot of people. I have never, ever known anyone who did not have some level of dissonance with their parents, that just had like a fractured reality with their parents and their family. Some kind of disagreements, even if it was, we just agree to disagree. That's like saying we agree to not inhabit the same reality, and we just don't talk about it.
Right. Or like, oh man, they're like, yeah, this bothers me, but they're old, they're struggling. I shouldn't put that on them. I should accept them as they are.
Yeah. And so acceptance is very, very important, obviously. But conceding to know someone fully, conceding to be fully known by the people that we love, is, we think, one of the drivers of the Metacrisis. That for us, the Metacrisis is really a crisis of relationship. That if everyone developed the ability to be in a shared reality with the people closest to them, and the people that were closest to them learn to be in a shared reality with the people closest to them, and the people just the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I might be dating myself, but like, if everyone inhabited a shared reality with the people closest to them, and we form a sort of global web of human relationships, then we'd all be in a shared reality.
And then we could coordinate to address some of these existential threats. And we've not only been working on this with my parental figures, we've also been doing this with everyone in our lives, with our friends, to a less explicit extent, with people we know in our neighborhood. And especially with the people we've gotten to go deep into it with, our coordination can be very tight. The flow of information between us can be almost frictionless. And it takes a lot to get there. And it's not, there is also like, it's an ongoing process. But being there not only feels better, but the amount of responsiveness that we have to each other and to our environment dramatically increases. And it becomes tremendously empowering. And so if we were all doing that with the people in our lives, we'd have this, our body, our collective body would start to sense itself again, to have proprioception of ourselves as a huge body.
I think that's interoception.
Both.
Oh, like a sense of how we're moving.
Yeah, how we're moving.
How we
yes,
feel.
exactly.
Right. So like humanity could become a shared body.
Yes.
Aware of how we felt externally and also how we feel internally.
Exactly. So that if our vital organs are saying, hey, you're starving me, we get a sense of that and redistribute the resources in our body.
Yeah, because that's actually what inequality really is.
Yes.
Inequality isn't like, so inequality is a moral issue. Like, it's definitely a moral issue. But to many people, that is the only thing that they're like, oh, I know that inequality is a moral issue, like full stop. And some people care about that and some people don't. But there's a reason it's a moral issue, and it's that if large swaths of a shared body, if cells in a share, if like let's say my lungs were experiencing inequality within my body, suddenly I'm having trouble breathing. And so there are entire populations of people on Earth right now experiencing various levels of inequality, and it's treated as something to wring our hands about. But actually, those are organs in a shared body. That would be like saying, well, I don't care how my pancreas, does the pancreas do something important? I think it does.
We're not medical people here.
We're not medical professionals. I assume my pancreas is in my body.
Right, it's there for a reason, yeah.
Right. And so like, they're not just people suffering inequality. They're fellow cells and fellow organs in a shared body that are being slowly starved. And so there is a thing that is called collective health. And collectively, we are very, very unhealthy. Mental and physical illness all over the world has been increasing for years. Naomi is 31 years old. She's going to be 32 in June.
I am.
You're not. You know, when I was growing up, I'm part of the older generation. You were never supposed to say a woman's age.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to say how old you were.
Yeah, because we devalued the cycles of femininity that happen outside of the fertility window.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah.
And so there's a global mind health annual study that has included millions of people across 85 countries. And right now on Earth, people between 18 and 35, I think.
Yes.
Which is your generational
my cohort. We're really struggling.
Yeah.
40% of us are experiencing anxiety and depression and what's called mental health issues that are really our whole bodies are having an immune response to the system we're in. And there are 40% of us who are having that response to such a great extent that we are having trouble functioning. 40% of us.
Yeah. Like the report terms it as clinically impaired. And so, in other words, 40% of her generational cohort would be considered in need of medical attention due to their various impairments.
Yeah, because my cohort, to speak for us and to you who's watching, I'm from this 18 to 35 cohort. I'm curious if this resonates with you. We grew up with the internet. We grew up with awareness of issues like what was called global warming, climate change. We grew up with awareness of the unevenly distributed impacts of these crises, of this crisis. We grew up with, in America, seeing healthcare costs rise and rise while the impacts of medical care became worse and worse. We saw debt escalate. And all of this together has been terrifying and debilitating and made us feel everything from angry to anxious to depressed to hopeless. To numb.
Yeah, I had a shock with you recently as we were preparing for this video, and we were talking about the ways in which the Metacrisis had shown up in our lives. I'm thirsty. I got to drink again. Naomi says it says to me, I grew up with the internet, and from a very young age. Every year I would just passively receive all these news stories. Inequality is rising, climate change is getting worse, the debt is escalating from her. I think when she was born, the United States, where we live, was like between $4 and $5 trillion in debt. And now she's 30, almost 32, and it's almost $40 trillion in debt. So that's an explosive debt cascade happening exclusively during your lifetime, and you've had continuous reporting of that debt escalation as a background buzz.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's both been just debilitating throughout my life, and then now those of us who grew up in this cohort, we're coming into that receiving of the baton in society, where now we're supposed to rise to join the ranks of people making the thing move.
Yeah.
And also the thing moves through growth that is unsustainable. And the thing moves through debt that is accumulating. And
just to speak of that for a second. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You said I'm sorry.
Are we going to talk about the sorry thing now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, let's do it.
We have a value on between us and in our relationships, not saying sorry, because we both tended to compulsively apologize when we met, and sorry doesn't contain data. What was actually going on is Matthew was feeling self-conscious that he was talking over me and taking the talking stick from me before I was ready.
Yes.
And I'm here to affirm you. I'm happy to give you the talking stick.
Okay. Well, as Naomi was saying, her generation is in the process of sort of accepting this baton, the generational baton. Like, there's always a generation that's doing the bulk of the heavy lifting in human civilization. They have to support the people who are retiring or are already retired, and they also have to support the young people who are being schooled and prepared to become eventually one day the generation that receives the baton. And so Naomi is 31. I am 51. And so I am of the generation that is in the process of handing the baton to Naomi's generation. I didn't know that was happening for most of my life. I was just doing what I was told as a member of the system. And so what I see happen now is that my generation figured out how to stabilize the systems by exponentially increasing debt. And so in basically a generation, the debt, as we mentioned, escalated just in the United States from around 4 trillion to between 38 and 39 trillion right now as we speak. And it's gaining $1 trillion in debt every 100 days or so. And so that is a sort of exponential debt curve that we are all living through, that your generation is living through, that my generation solving a problem of how to stabilize the system is like debt. And we handed it off, the debt, to your generation.
And it's like their generation maxed out the family credit card.
Yeah.
And now, like, they inherited debt, like your generation inherited debt.
Yeah.
And then you maxed out the family credit card, and now we're being handed a maxed out credit card, ecological collapse, a polarized system, fragmented relationships, and we're supposed to make this thing go.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
We're having a moment of playfulness, but the truth is, and the truth is that speaking as a member of my generation, I am afraid. I am angry at being handed this debt. I feel this great urgency to do something. I feel like I've been sitting on my hands my whole life, waiting to get to adulthood and have some agency, being like, can we please do something? And then getting to adulthood and being like, well, this is actually really hard to do anything about.
Yeah, the system is hard to budge.
Yeah.
As we were saying, we both managed to get sort of near some of the people who have their hands on levers of power. Straighten my necklace.
Yeah, do that.
Yep. And then take a moment to straighten my necklace.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
We have preferences.
We have preferences. We got near to people who had their hands on levers of power and saw that the only real agency they have is to continue pushing those levers in one direction. And so it's like the systems won't budge. And so our agency is limited right now. And the two things that we seem to have, where we see most human agency existing right now, is where we put our attention and how we manage our relationships. And that is a point of leverage for essentially everyone on Earth right now.
Yeah. We all have a sphere of influence. We all have a number of people around us and a number of ecosystems around us that we have some impact on. And by intentionally designing how we relate to them, we can exercise that influence. And one thing I will say about some of the people who I was near who had their hands on levers of greater change is that though their incentives were to just keep pushing them towards the inertia, some of them wanted out. Some of them wanted out, and that's really where my heart went out to them. Is that there were some of them who would genuinely have liked to be doing something different, but didn't have the sense of relational safety, the regulatory base, the sense of true empowerment and agency and self-confidence to step out of it and to try something else.
Yeah, they didn't feel like the people in their lives would support them. Making a change.
Yeah.
Making a serious change.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we are all children of the Metacrisis, as the title, I think the title of the video we intend it to be. We are all children of the Metacrisis. We were all born into this situation together. And even the most powerful people have limited, constrained agency. And so we looked at the situation together long and hard. And not everyone has space to change their lives and become climate scientists or people who study agroforestry or the various professions that allow people to work directly on urgent problems. Some people just can't pull themselves out of their lives to do that. And so, but everyone is either aware of what is happening or in the process of becoming aware of what's happening. And at some point, we will all be aware that we are sharing a common set of challenges that are existential in nature, that we are all going to have to, in some way or another, participate in trying to respond to. And as we come into awareness of this, as we did, and realizing that our agency is limited, the most important thing we think is for people discovering where their greatest agency lies in their lives. And for us, that's attention and how we manage our relationships in our sphere of influence. And that's why we created the experience of we. That's why the experience of we is our response to the Metacrisis, because we discerned that as we, a species on Earth, comes into awareness of our shared danger, we're going to want to take action. And right now, there are limited actions we all can take. And the main point of leverage for all of us is, as we were saying, our attention and our relationships. And so the experience of we is a system for trying to exercise influence responsibly in our relationships, in all of our relationships, in whatever sphere of influence we have. And so that's why we created it. And that's why we are in the process of offering it to anyone who finds this channel, anyone who finds our platform, and anyone who feels the activation energy to start facing the challenges ahead as soon as possible.
Yeah. I'm really excited about what we have to share with you because it's practical. It gets to the point. It gets to the action. There's not a lot of fluff. It holds us like we are held by the system ourselves. And also it gets right to the point. So we're excited to share it with you. And yeah, no matter who we are, no matter what perspective we come from, we are in this together. Mm-hmm. We are all sharing this experience. We are all born into these systems. We are all children of Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. And we are all children of the Metacrisis. And we have the ability to do something. And the space right now in which to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where my hope and inspiration lies is that if we are all children of the Metacrisis, then we all get to grow up together.
Yeah, that.
We all get to grow up together.
Yeah, because this crisis we're going through is a species level rite of passage. This is a coming of age event of coming into awareness that we are, as a collective, a part of something greater than ourselves, mm-hmm. and learning to be responsible in that greater environment. And so this is a process of species level maturation. Mm-hmm. And yeah, really a chance to grow up together and walk through the fire together, mm-hmm. and come out the other side stronger and more bonded for it.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are looking forward to having you as companions on this journey.
Yeah, we are.
And so we look forward to talking to you next time.
Yeah, bye for now.
Bye.